Hey guys, it's Kris Jones and
Kris Nash.
For episode 84 of Ask Us Anything. In the last episode, we went semi-deep on the topic of spirituality. I hope you guys found that useful. It's obviously a very important topic to everyone. So hopefully you took a nugget or two. In this episode, I've been wanting to do this sort of back and forth with Kris. It's kind of an interview for him, but it's a topic that I care near and dear about as well, and that is health and wellness. Kris is one of the most disciplined individuals I've ever met in my life as it relates to allocating energy and time consistently to health and wellness. So tell us about when it became important to you, why is it important, and, any kind of reflection on it.
When I was growing up, I think I got lucky in that my mom was British, and I don't know if that had anything to do with it, but she was sort of anti the typical, let's say, like American TV dinner. We didn't go to Burger King, McDonald's. We didn't have salt on the table. There was no candy in the house. She was anti-soda. So I think growing up, and it's funny because I never felt like I lacked that stuff and I didn't crave it. She didn't forbid it. We just didn't have it available. So I think I got really lucky growing up in that environment and thinking about it.
FYI, because I'm sure I'll give my opinion on this, I grew up in a household where whatever was available at the grocery store, I grew up pretty poor. It was like butter was the real butter.
Yeah, sure.
I grew up on like...
By the way, I'm not pretending like we ate like kings. I probably have a similar experience with that. We're still talking like the Chef Boyardee stuff in a can, and that still happened.
Cool. But it's cool that you did that.
Gourmet
was
meals.
your mom talking about it? Like, whoa, hey, you got to keep your sodium levels low.
No. She just had sort of some like anti, fast food, prepared meals. She just didn't like.
Do you think that was like a European thing?
I don't know. I just thought it was different than talking to all my friends, so I just assumed it was related to that. But growing up and thinking about that, and I remember watching this commercial when I was little they were talking about eating a candy bar versus eating an apple, and the difference in getting the energy from one versus the other. And that stuck with me from way, way back then. But I kind of like lost it. I remember when I went to college, I ate anything terrible. Burger King, McDonald's. I totally went off the rails.
By the way, can you guys just reflect for a second? Can you reflect on the difference in your energy? What the energy feels like when you eat something good? Like, same amount of calories. Eat something good versus something like fast food or whatever. I could tell you myself, I've become increasingly more aware of that as I get older.
Yeah.
That, pound for pound, 1,500 calorie diet of processed crappy food versus a salad based or something that's better for me that's not processed. Total game changer. And I'm not like some crazy radical, you got to do it this way, which we're going to get into.
I'm fairly radical.
I know you are. That's why you're on this video.
I have to hold myself
back. But go ahead.
Let's
build this up. Think about that, guys. If you're going to stop for, a burger at McDonald's or Burger King, you could also stop at Red Leaf and get a salad. And, put some protein and some other things on the salad so that you get the calorie intake that you need to get your energy. But I promise you, par for par, 1,500 calories of fast food and 1,500 calories of salad-based something, you're gonna feel more energy. That's my opinion.
So then when I went to college, I was kind of eating whatever the heck I wanted, and then a couple years later, I never really made it a priority, and I didn't focus on it until post-college. And then I tore my Achilles playing basketball like years later, and I thought to myself, like, I know this happens to typical like 30-year-olds and stuff like that, but in my opinion, I'm like, this is a weakness, and I shouldn't be this fragile. Mm-hmm. And I started to think about my diet and thought, you know what? I think the inputs actually affect the outputs. Like what I put in my body is directly affecting my overall health. I know that sounds so obvious, but I don't think people actually think about it like that. They don't think about it like you're pulling up to the human gas pump and you have an option. You can put the sludge in or you can put the premium in. And my choice is to put the premium in from now on. So,
by the way, our society plays into that. It's much easier to get the crap.
For sure.
It's more readily available.
Well, I think it's driven by the money.
And it's less expensive.
For sure.
That's
it's very true. So it's less expensive because there's probably more profit driven through the crap, let's say. And then what happened, Kris, like shortly after that, this is interesting because I was with you at Refer Local. We went to Tony Robbins.
Yep.
And there's a whole day on health. And I had just read
it's day 4 in Tony's 4-day conference called Unleash the Power Within.
And I had just watched a documentary called Forks Over Knives, which I wish every single person on the planet...
Forks Over Knives, right?
It's what, in terms of health, it's the single biggest thing that changed my perspective on health. And then I went to Tony Robbins and they had a day on health. And I was planning on literally not giving a crap about that day, but it became one of the most important days for me. Since I went to that conference, I have not been sick, and it'll be 6 years this February.
That's unbelievable.
Since that conference, I have not been sick. And I haven't even gotten a cold.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So I changed my diet. Wasn't trying to lose weight, but I lost like 18 pounds in 2 months. And I've been close to that weight. I've fluctuated literally, and this is probably going to drive people crazy. I've literally fluctuated like 5 pounds in and outside of that number since that time. And I'm not saying it's easy, but I think when you connect the idea that it becomes a part of what you think about, and it becomes important to you, and you actually find fulfillment and interest in it, you don't think like, oh, I'm going to eat a salad because I have to. You eat a salad because you want to.
Yeah.
And it's not all about eating salad. There's plenty of food.
So you didn't get sick. What did it do to your energy? What has it done to your... And
it's
what are some of what was the discipline? What are some of the things that you learned from that?
The discipline, I mean, I have kind of 3 basic things I do. I try to eat as little carbs and sugar as possible. Yep. I've cut dairy completely out of my life. I mean, listen, it's very challenging to be so absolute and fanatical about it. I mean, you guys know, I think even from these short videos, that I am obsessive, which helps in this department. So I'm a little bit insane about it, but at the same time, being a fanaticist is tough. And then if you break one little rule, you're like, oh, I'm off the wagon. I don't do that. Like, if I have a piece of cheese, I'm not going to be depressed about it. So, but anyway, low sugar, low carb, no dairy. I think dairy is like literally a poison in people's lives, and there's plenty of alternatives to it. And the third one is cut back on meat. I'm not a vegan or a vegetarian. There have been times in my life I'm very close, but I think, again, it's very challenging to eat that way constantly, and you find yourself in impractical opportunities all the time.
What's left? What's left after
I know it
that?
sounds like that, but you don't. This society pushes sugar and they push protein on you. In like, I'm going to spout off, and I know that some of the people watching this have heard me literally. Look at the gorilla. What does a gorilla eat?
Bananas.
And what else? They eat leaves and they eat they forage, right? Yeah. They're not out there. They're not eating meat. Maybe they get a couple insects on that leaf that they're eating. So the idea, and pound for pound, they're like 40 times stronger than we are. Whatever, they're beasts. So the idea that you need to stuff a cow in your mouth to be strong or have this ridiculous amount of protein is completely fabricated. And once you start to look at that and think about the fact that there are examples out there, and that's the thing, like look at the examples, do your own kind of mental check on it and go, wait a second, I don't need to do what everyone's doing. Like I'm like the 1%er when it comes to what you eat. And so you ask, like, what do you eat? Well, predominantly, I eat a ton of salad, particularly spinach. And I just wrap my meals around that process. If you want chicken in there because it makes you feel better, go ahead. Do you need it? I don't think so. One of the past MMA champions was a vegan. So the idea that you can't be strong or a badass because you don't eat meat, there's a stigma in our society around not eating meat. Like, oh, he's soft because you don't like steak. Bullshit. I feel totally powerful. I've had more clarity of thought. I've had more energy in general. You know, I think you guys can tell I carry a lot of energy. But there are definitely times in my life where I felt like I was destroying my body by not giving a crap about what I put in it. The moment I changed that and just thought about it and started to do a little bit of research, it literally changed. So now, like, I have a kind of I don't want to call it a crazy routine, but every single day without fail, I have this sort of green drink that I buy on Amazon, and I have it every day without fail. I will pack it in my suitcase when I travel and make sure I make a shake with it when I'm away. That's how I start my day. And then I just manage what I do in terms of low sugar, low meat, and dairy. Those are the 3 things I avoid.
My quick reflection on, and by the way, that's that level of discipline, the fact that you haven't been sick in years. I think for me, I think one measure of health and wellness is your ability to control obsessive eating or obsessive weight. I mean, just maintaining it, managing it. So for me, the carb and the low sugar or no sugar is big.
Sure.
I think that the other piece of it is discipline around portion size. So, like we were talking about earlier, it's like it's less expensive to go out and eat bad. But put that aside for a second. The other reality of the United States of America, you go out and get a quadruple portion.
You do constantly.
We're constantly stuffing ourselves.
Right.
Just constantly. And the thing is, when my kids, when we go out for dinner, their portions are huge. So they're getting trained to drink the big gulps, which is an epidemic, and it's really unfortunate.
I used to eat like that all the time. I used to eat myself till I couldn't stuff any more in. And then I always felt bad for this huge period afterward. And I just thought that was the way it went. You eat and then you feel like crap for a little while.
Yeah.
But now I don't do that at all.
Yeah.
And I don't have the same obsession with maybe it's because growing up poor, you feel like, oh my God, food, stuff it in when you can. I don't know. Maybe that has something to do with it.
Listen, no. Food is a what's the word? Not hedonist, but food is like a comfort.
It is.
It's one of the things we can control, right? So for some people that becomes something they can control, in good and in bad.
I will say too. I mean, this is kind of supposed to be about health and wellness. Everything, and I think we'll probably talk about it in the next video, but everything requires balance.
Definitely.
So I know this sounds like maybe a little nutty to people watching, but on a daily basis, I don't have to think about it. This is the way I do. This is what's important to me. It's not like I'm I'm checking off the calories, how many pieces of spinach did I eat? It doesn't work like that.
I look at it differently.
It doesn't work.
Here's how I think about it. Do you guys want to have more energy? Do you want that energy to make you feel better? Do you want to be able to maintain your weight, whatever that... I mean, the guy has done this for 6 years, and he's maintained it within 5 pounds. I am not as disciplined as you, and my range has probably been 10. But, for what it's worth, if you like those kind of things, it's one of the reasons I wanted to bring this topic up, is that I know you feel you're very disciplined about it, and I think that sets a really interesting example for other folks. Let's talk about exercise, keeping the body moving. How have you thought about that over the years? There's probably some folks out there that are much more disciplined in that area.
Oh, for sure. I think that's a weakness for me right now. I don't do it every day. I know I should. For me, I feel like I'm better at controlling the diet portion than I am with the exercise portion. But I know how important it is, and I know that particularly around resistance training, I love the idea of mixing in resistance training with cardio, so you don't have to spend an hour pedaling your butt off on a bike versus incorporating your strength training into your cardio. So all these programs like Insanity, they kind of move in that department, and I think it's one of the reasons CrossFit has become so powerful. And being connected to the fitness community through one of my companies, Max Bench, has given me a window into that, and I've been to a bunch of conferences on it. So there's nothing more important than working your muscle in a way that gives you a little bit of resistance, which actually has been proven to sort of keep your cells healthy. Obviously, it creates oxygen and everything else, but that idea that you at least need to move around on a daily basis.
It tells your body to work faster, to work harder in a good way.
I mean, can anyone really argue the idea that if you do something physical that you don't feel great right after it? It's proven. You get a mini high.
Yeah.
And so we don't do it often enough, and I don't know. I guess it's harder, which is funny because it makes you feel good. But it's one of those things people have a hard time starting. It's about to be the new year too, so it's interesting because we're all going to have those New Year's resolutions. But I think it's important. I think as it relates to exercise, to attach the right significance to it, so you strive to do it for the right reason, and don't make it feel like an obligation. The second it's an obligation, you feel like somebody's forced, even if it's yourself, like you're forcing yourself to do it, you're not going to continue it. So you have to kind of attach that idea that I'm doing this because it feels good, and I want to do it because of this reason, and think about what it may achieve for you, or how it's going to make you feel long term. And that's going to make you much more apt to do it on a daily basis.
Yeah. My advice from my own experience is get started with as little of a commitment as you're willing to make, because I think a lot of people don't, because they feel like They know they're going to quit after 30 or 60 days.
They
That's
know it.
because
Back in their minds, they know it.
Yeah, they end up going to the gym, and as soon as they start to sweat, they go, "Whew, that was good." So their belief system around what it means to exercise is so convoluted. Like you don't need to train for the MMA.
Right.
If you consistently over a sustained period of time move your body more.
Right.
Whether it's a 15-minute beach body video, a 30-minute beach body video, taking a walk, whatever it is. I think I'll close with this. I think health and wellness is about lifestyle. Sure. I'm not so sure it's about whether or not you eat meat or you eat dairy or not. I think it's about a lifestyle commitment.
I agree. For
me, it's about health and wellness. And I want to be able to measure myself based on how much, how seriously I take that and how much I'm able to hold myself accountable to it. And when I start falling off the bandwagon, I know that I'm below my standard and I feel uncomfortable about it and I bring it up. So I think the challenge would be, for anybody watching us here, is on the one hand, you're extraordinarily disciplined, and you've also conditioned yourself over these last 6 years such that now it's just part of who you are. It's part of your being.
Right.
But we certainly don't want to, we don't want anybody to watch this and say, well,
I can't do what he's doing.
Yeah, you take baby steps.
You take baby steps. There's nothing. Listen, this thinking didn't occur. I just got lucky on day one that because I started the process then, and I had an immediate result because I lost weight and I felt better, and I literally had a better clarity of thought. And I'm like, wow, I can't go back now because I feel awesome. And that just kickstarted the process. But that wasn't that challenging. Yeah. I did it for a couple weeks and got lucky that there was a result connected to it. So I think sometimes that happens and you just build on it. But you don't have to go so extreme as I did. Make little improvements. Cut the thing out, or actually don't think of it as cutting it out. Do something positive. Mix something positive in there and just build off that little thing. Yeah. And I think you'll feel better. You'll feel better that you did it at the end of the day. So in terms of spirituality and fulfillment, like we were talking about before, I make that a part of what I think about before I go to bed at night and sort of have that mental check.
Well, we will be back for the next episode where we talk about work-life balance. We'll see you guys soon. Peace.
Peace.